Back to school in France. Top tips for stress-free rentrée. What is la rentrée in France? Often translated as back to school in English, but it's much more than that in France. Whether you are a parent, a student, or just an expat curious about this unique aspect of French life, stick around because I've got some great tips for you to help navigate this exciting but hectic time of the year. As you know, the rentrée marks the end of summer and the beginning of the new school year. It's like a national reset button, but it's not just for schools. In practice, every sector in France experiences a rentrée, and we'll see that just after in the video. Now, if you're planning to move to France and don't know how to request a French sponsor-free visa, this is fully detailed in the Dream to Reality course, a comprehensive online course to help you prepare your visa request to move to France the right way. More information on this course in the link under this video. Knowing what to expect is the first step to adjusting to your new adoptive country. So stay tuned whether you have kids or not. Tip number 1. La rentrée is more than just back to school. Of course, if you have school-age children, you will need to prepare la rentrée scolaire for them as in most countries in the world. If it's not their first school year in France, you should have been provided with a stationery list in June or July by the French school, either on the school website or on the school notice board. And it's not only about buying a new backpack. You will get a detailed list of new books, pens and more, and this list should be standardized by the school board to avoid unnecessary expenses. Some schools or schools' parents association also facilitate group purchase to give access to cheaper supplies. The Department for Education also provides an annual school supply list for primary and secondary school that can help if you haven't been provided with the school list in advance. Of course, for many families, la rentrée means extra expenses when you have school children. The first few weeks of school are very busy and every little help counts. Depending on your annual income and your number of children, you may receive a start of the school year allowance or allocation de rentrée scolaire, ARS, to help you with the rentrée expenses. CAF, or Caisse d'allocation familiale, is a French government body that provides subsidies to families depending on their income level. This allowance is paid in the month of August so that you can face the September extra expenses. This is a great financial help for families, and you can see the 2024 amounts on the screen right now. Keep in mind that these amounts are updated annually. So check out if you may be entitled to it to send your request as soon as possible and not miss this opportunity. Also, the thresholds to receive the ARS are based on your income from 2 years before and the 31st of July of the current year family situation. So if this is your first time in France and you are not registered with CAF yet, you should go to the website www.caf.fr. You need to download a form from the page Mes démarches and then Vie personnelle, Parentalité section, print it, yes, France still loves paper forms, and send the completed form to your CAF to declare your situation with the requested backup documents. Also, you should know that to be able to download the application form, you must first create your online CAF account. Be aware that for children who will be aged between 6 and 15 years old on 31st of December following the start of the new year, if you are entitled to this allowance, the ARS, you do not need to do anything after registering with CAF. The back-to-school allowance is paid automatically. For children between the age of 16 and 18, you must declare to CAF that your child is still at school or in an apprenticeship for the start of the current academic year to receive the new academic year allowance. So you remember, I just said before that la rentrée is not just for kids. Now let's talk about la rentrée littéraire. If you're a reader and live in France, you may have noticed that from mid-August to October, the media are presenting many books released and Author of the Year promotions. Autumn is all about Grand Prix du Roman, the grand prize for the best novel in the literature world. For the writers, translators and publishers, this is really the time of the year not to miss, as most of the releases and media attention is right now at the Rentrée. About 40% of the novel's annual sales are made during the 2-3 months of La Rentrée Littéraire. For the readers, this is a bit like being in Candyland with overwhelming options to choose from. You will be able to discover many first novel writers or read your favorite author's latest book. It is the best time of the year for most publishers to publish promising debut novels considering the extra media attention. Both French literature and foreign translated novels are released massively at this time of the year. It is a great time to go to your local bookshop to ask them for their advice on the new releases. Now let's talk about the French political rentrée. Another French tradition is when French politicians return to work after the summer vacation. Most French political parties organize meetings for active political members to prepare the political rentrée. These gatherings are called the Université d'été. Don't get confused here, these events are not organized by universities. Intellectuals, members of civil society, researchers, and of course the party campaigning members are invited to conferences, debates, and trainings. The Université d'été, or summer university, often marks the end of the summer break for the political parties. Now, tip number 2. Don't wait until September to plan your annual activity calendar. Have you already tried to start a new activity in France in November or any time during the school year? It can be pretty hard to matriculate anywhere at this time of the year. The concept of paying as you go is not so common in France, especially with group activities, as this would affect the learning curve of the rest of the group. Practicing a regular activity is one of the best ways for expats to meet French people and make new friends in general. But to make sure that you can matriculate, don't miss out on the September matriculations. You may not be able to register later depending on the association. French associations and sports clubs organize their activity annually based on the school year that goes from September to June. Some associations have 1 or 2 matriculation days in September, and in many cases, it could be your only opportunity to register. If you're matriculating into a public association or when the matriculation fee is very cheap, people tend to start queuing very early in the morning to guarantee their subscription. You may need to start queuing as early as if you would go to the prefecture for a residence permit renewal. A few years ago, I matriculated my niece to baby swimming classes with the local association, and I started to queue at 5 a.m. and I couldn't even get the slot that I wanted. It was the same situation when I registered for Pilates classes with the local association. I went at 4 a.m. with a folded chair, a blanket, yes, it was cold at that time, and a thermos of coffee. Some people were even organized in groups playing cards, and others were watching movies on their tablets. It's always better to check at what time you should arrive and get organized than arriving at the opening time to a queue going all around the block. As you can see, this situation applies both to adult and children's activities. So if you are a family, I advise you to carefully check the matriculation calendar for every activity and association. Some associations also organize discovery classes through the months of June or even September to attract new members and let you try before the actual subscription days. I would therefore recommend you to start looking before the summer to know which activity you want to try out and check the matriculation calendar so as not to miss on anything. You may have understood that for many things, the end of summer means a big rush to organize the start of the school year, as everyone gets back from holidays. I haven't really seen such phenomenon at this level in the countries where I've lived in. Of course, people get ready for the school or go back to work but not to such an extent and not for so many sectors of activities. The only exception would be sports maybe. This is the only sector that doesn't really have a rentrée in France, as Anglo-Saxon countries would have, for example. Also, to avoid stress and multitude, I personally try to avoid the supermarkets or stationery shops on the weekends before and after the first day of school. Now, tip number 3. Take advantage of the rentrée discounts. One of the perks of the rentrée is the amazing discounts. So if you need to get a new mobile phone subscription, September and January are perfect times to snag some great deals. You'll also find discounts on a variety of products. So if you're unhappy with any service you're currently paying for, September is a fantastic month to switch contracts and take advantage of these special offers. To summarize, a stress-free rentrée in France is all about anticipation, the same as organizing your expatriation actually. Some preparation for your French rentrée can be done as early as June or July before heading off on vacation. And if you didn't manage to do it this year, no worries, there is always next year. And don't think that the rentrée is just for kids. As you can see, it applies to adults too. French life keeps us young, right? If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends. Your support really helps this channel. Thank you for watching until the end. Merci et à bientôt!